Hello everyone, my name is Abhi Bharadwaj and I'm back with lecture series on science. Today's topic is global warming and climate change, and I'm going to briefly discuss what are the main reasons for that, what causes it, and how probably we can address those. Um, and I'm also going to talk about little about the Earth history, how the temperature has been changing and what influences that. So let's get started. So if you look at the history of Earth, and if you go back in time around 400,000 years, we see that about here, I'm going to talk about on this side it's going to be CO2 parts per million, so carbon dioxide, and this is going to be time, and that's going to be current, so I'll put 0 for the current time. So if you go back in time 400,000 years, we had around 160 parts per million CO2, and if you go so I'll put some numbers here, maybe around 200, 280, 320, and then 380, and 400, and then maybe 480, and then around 500, what we will average there. And when you look at the history of the Earth, the CO2 level fluctuated. So it went up, and then it came down, and went up, and went down, and it went up, down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up. So this is what the trend was, and why it went up and down. I just want to also mention a little bit about that. Is that because this was the time when Earth went into glaciation period, right? So glaciation period, that means it was covered with ice and snow, and then that happens every 15 to 20,000 years, and it goes back into glaciation period. So this is what happens, covered fully with the ice and snow, and then the temperature starts rising up, and the regular temperature comes back. So what is happening is that if you go back 400,000 years, it was around 160 parts per million, and then going up and down. So if you look at the trend here, that is what it's showing. But when you see current now, so I'm gonna draw a line here from 400, and that is where we are right now. So we are at, so I'll put current here. That is where we are. Okay, so it is 400 parts per million, and I'm going to write down here 400 ppm. And and when we look at around the time, maybe 1890, it was around 280 parts per million, and then it increased, and we have reached up to 400 parts per million now. So that is the thing. And what is causing this change in temperature and change in carbon dioxide level? So let's find that out. So when you see there are different greenhouse gases, they are called GHGs, right? And so there is carbon dioxide, which is the main culprit. So carbon dioxide basically comes from the burning of the fossil fuel, and also basically when we drive cars, you see the cars, the trucks, all the transportation engines we use, for example, industries pump it, and then also burning of coal for production of energy. So that is also one of the reasons. And so this is one of the greenhouse gases. What are others? We have methane, for example. We have nitrous oxide, and we also have CFCs, and we also have water vapors. So all this basically causes the temperature to rise, and how that happens, I'm going to talk a little bit about that first. So what happens is, the good example is greenhouse effect. And when you, for instance, when you're sitting in a car and you close all the windows, you must have noticed the temperature within the car starts rising. And why it happens is that the sun rays can enter through the glass of your car windows and windshield, and the heat energy gets entrapped, so it cannot get out. And because of that, the temperature within the car starts rising, and that is called greenhouse effect. The term came from the greenhouses we use, for example, to grow plants. In countries like Canada, where there's very little summertime, so what we do is we grow our vegetables and some fruits also, some crops within greenhouses. And what they are is, they are houses made up of glass basically. And so within those houses, same phenomena happens, that sunlight can come in but it cannot get out. And the temperature within the greenhouse is more than outside temperature. So that's how how it works there. But what is happening on Earth is exactly the same phenomena. So if you look at the Earth, for instance, what is happening is, when the carbon dioxide level go up, it causes the same effect. So say when we have more carbon dioxide within our atmosphere, it is one of the greenhouse gases, it raises the temperature. So more CO2 we pump into the atmosphere, more temperature starts rising. And other gases I was mentioning, which are also culprit here, is methane and nitrous oxide. So as I mentioned, carbon dioxide comes from burning of fossil fuel, all the cars, trucks, different industries, burning of coal for production of electricity, all causes the rise in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And when you look at the methane and, for instance, the nitrous oxide, so methane comes from landfills, for example, and also from the livestock. So basically, those are the some of the factors which contributes towards the methane. And nitrous oxide also comes from raising livestock, and their feed. So for example, the livestock we raise, we basically prepare their food also, and that also raise the nitrous oxide, because within the alimentary canal of the animals and the digestive system, the nitrous oxide is produced, and similarly the methane is produced. And these two gases are much more potent than even carbon dioxide. And if you look at the methane, for example, is 20 times more potent than carbon dioxide. If you look at nitrous oxide, is 300 times more potent than carbon dioxide. So these are more, but they are less in the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide is still the biggest polluter, because it's more in quantity, but nitrous oxide is 300 times more potent. And so raising livestock is another factor which is causing major environmental problems. And then you have chlorofluorocarbons. We used to use them in refrigerators. We have banned them. Most of the countries have banned now. So that's good. But this is another gas which is actually 1,000 times more potent than CO2. And similarly, water vapors also contribute towards greenhouse effect. So this is also one of the GHGs. But all these combined together, makes the greenhouse effect, which in turn leads to rise in global temperature. Now, if you look at the contribution of carbon dioxide, it is 80%, almost 80% of the GHGs. The greenhouse effect is caused by CO2. And when you look at the methane, it is about 11%. And then if you look at NO2, it is about about 8%. And then the rest is CFCs and water vapors. So when you look at the major contributors, then it is carbon dioxide still. What is happening? So when you look at now, the temperature around on Earth, it is increasing. And when you see now in 2015, it has increased actually 1 Celsius, which is a big increase. So say when you look at, say, from 1890 to now, 1 Celsius. After 1950, the rate of the increase in temperature doubled almost. Since the industrial revolution, after the industrial revolution, from 1950 onwards, the rate doubled. And we see in 2015 we have 1 Celsius already increased, and that's a major change in temperature. Because if you look at the temperature change, what it can do, so say if the temperature go 2 or 3 degrees down, 4 degree down, it actually can start the glaciation period, so when it goes down. But if it goes up, that starts the global warming period. So 1 Celsius already increased. What does that do? So when you look at Earth, for example, all the North Pole is covered with snow and ice. And if you look at Antarctica, also covered with snow and ice. When the temperature starts increasing, this starts melting. The snow starts melting, the glacier starts melting here. Same thing happens in the Antarctica. We start losing the snow. The ocean level starts rising. And what would that do? So that then leads to basically rise in water level within the ocean, which will then start threatening our coastal cities, our coastal countries. For example, countries like Sri Lanka, Maldives, all could be underwater in just 50 to 60 years from now. Same thing, the cities like New York could be underwater. So that's a major problem which is coming up because of the rise of the temperature in Earth. Next thing, what can happen is we can have very severe weather patterns, which is already showing up now. So we can have hurricanes which are much more severe. We can have winter storms which are much more severe. So both ways, more severe winters to more harsh summers, and we can have twisters, we can have floods. All that stuff comes with it when the temperature starts increasing. It's going to be very severe weather patterns, which would make our life horrible on this planet, and a lot of people, millions of people would be affected by that. So when we look at all this picture, it tells us that the global warming is real. It has already started showing its effects, and if we do not do anything, then it's gonna be actually writing a death sentence for humanity on this planet Earth. So what we need to do, we need to make sure that we individually take responsibility, and every citizen of this world has to do that and understand that this is a real problem and what we can do from our end. So for example, to reduce the carbon dioxide level on or at least stop it for now, the cars we use, for example, we can change them to either hybrid cars or battery operated, and I would recommend that 100% battery operated. Now we have companies like Tesla, which are producing battery operated car. We have many companies which are coming up, in a couple of years, and that's gonna be started at least helping the environment. So we have to make that switch very quickly. We have to also make sure that the burning of the coal, for example, for production of electricity has to change, and we might have to start using quickly more environmental friendly technologies rather than those old technology which leads to addition of carbon dioxide. Another factor I talked about is livestock raising, which is causing addition of methane, for example, and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. Very, very potent gases, both of them. We have to make that switch in our diet, the personal diet. If we could convert our diet from non-vegetarian to vegetarian diet, we will be getting rid of extra livestock which we have to raise, and we are using multiple I would say resources to do that. Basically it requires a lot of land to raise livestock, and if we could switch our food habits from non-vegetarian diet to vegetarian diet, that would tremendously help reduction of these another two potent gases. CFCs, we have already taken care of that, so that that looks good now. And another one is ozone, which I forgot, is also is also one of the GHGs. But the most major contributor is CO2, and that's where we have to focus most. And how can we help is, we can go back to our communities, we can go back to our friends, families, co-workers, everyone, and tell that this is a real problem and everyone has to start thinking about it and taking action. That's the thing, is taking action, so that individually we are helping save this planet. And if we do not do that, then the coming generation would not have the same planet what we have, and they're gonna suffer a lot of problems because of the global warming, and we were threatening our own race. So my message in this lecture is that, let's take it very seriously. Let's do our individual part, and let's involve the communities, the governments, and everyone, because it's not only the governments who can help resolve this problem. It has to be individual level. Every citizen of this world has to think about it and do their part to stop it. Thank you for watching.